This segment of Western Wisconsin Journal tells the story of RiverFest, a community celebration honoring the St. Croix River. I'm your host, Michelle Stangler, and our guests are RiverFest community members Buck Malik, Jackie Bradham, and Judy Freund. All are longtime volunteer community members of the annual event and hands-on coordinators of the 5 days of nature-oriented special events and celebrations. Now, before we get started, what really gets you excited about this event? What's the meaning behind your slogan, Party with a Purpose, Buck?
Well, the RiverFest grew out of annual riverbank cleanups that had started about a decade earlier. I used to coordinate those with a few folks, and a guy named Paul Bourget of Hudson here was on the board of the St. Croix River Association, and he suggested, why don't we try ramping this up and make more of a community festival out of it? And so that's how we went from just being riverbank cleanup to a celebratory aspect with all the other river stewardship stuff that we have today.
There's a deeper meaning to the Party with a Purpose, which is interesting. Now, how many years has RiverFest been happening?
Well, this approach started in 2013, so it's 22 now. So this is our 9th year. This is our 9th year, but this is a point for me to mention something else. The St. Croix River lower section from Taylor's Falls, St. Croix Falls on south was added to the National Wild and Scenic Rivers System exactly 50 years ago this year. We sometimes think of 1968 as a designation, but that was a designation of the Namakagon and the northern part of the St. Croix River. So that lower 52 miles was added just 50 years ago this October. And this, back to the question you really asked, is the 9th year of RiverFest.
Now, the event has obviously evolved over time. How has it kind of grown these past few years?
Sounds like a good one for Judy.
A good one for me. So, and actually that is a great question. And I think that, like a lot of activities, RiverFest in 2020, the year of the pandemic, really pulled back. We kind of tried to do some online things and tried to migrate towards some activities that people could participate in, videos that people could watch, but obviously, like other organizations, we had to pull back. However, I think that you and all your viewers are really aware that 2020 absolutely lifted up and the environment. It lifted up the outdoors. People really came to understand that walking and being on the river, being next to the water, that there was just, not only was it great for them in terms of I got to get out of my house, but there was something that's really healing about all of that. So I feel this year that as I listen to chatter around organizations that I belong to, I think that there's really being a lot of renewed interest in the RiverFest and the activities. I know I belong to the Hudson Daybreak Rotary Club, and individuals in that club, not me, but other individuals, are hugely promoting RiverFest because it as a service opportunity in terms of the cleanup, but also as a opportunity to network, to come out with other community members and sort of enjoy the river.
I know for myself personally, I've taken some hikes, and just the river itself is a great way to get outside alongside this event. And now sustainability is a huge topic in a lot of our listeners' mind. How does this event, RiverFest, partner with Sustain Hudson?
Well, Judy and I are both on the board of Sustain Hudson. It's a small but mighty type of board, a very small organization, but from the beginning, RiverFest has had a partnership with Sustain Hudson as the fiscal agent, as we say. Sustain Hudson is a charitable 501c3 corporation, so donations from foundations and donations from individuals who want the tax deductibility can come to us through Sustain Hudson as fiscal agent. So it's been that. There are other ways in which Sustain Hudson and RiverFest overlap, but that's the principal one.
Mm-hmm. The sustaining for the future, you could say, to continue with this event. Now, this event has many community partners and sponsors. It wouldn't be possible without them. How has the programming been supported from the businesses and nonprofit communities in the Hudson area?
Maybe this is a good one for you, Jackie, since you manage that. I process the checks, but you process all the different levels of support from sponsors.
Yeah, we have quite a few sponsors. Our major event sponsor is Norlake, and they are returning again. They've been, I don't know, how many years has it been? 4 or 5 years, I think, that they've been our major event sponsor. So then the next level down is the Saranda, Sustain Hudson, and Excel Energy this year. Each year it varies who comes forward and at the different levels, but that support allows us to publicize and the event and to pay for the events and activities that make it happen. And with the Native American program, our major sponsors for that are NATOW, which is Native American Tourism is it?
Of Wisconsin.
Of Wisconsin. There you go. Thank you, Buck.
I
And
always
then
stumble around.
the Chippewa Indians of Wisconsin and the St. Croix Casino are the major sponsors that are helping us with the Native American program on Saturday. So we do have a list of event sponsors on our website. So if you want to check out who all the sponsors are, and that's at stcroixriverfest.org. One thing that, in addition to all the sponsors that help us, we have a lot of partner organizations that help make it happen. And those are organizations like the library or the Carpenter Nature Center that help provide programming. And some of those people actually serve on the committee. So it truly is a community event, and community organizers are putting it together.
A lot. Oh,
yeah,
go ahead, Buck.
I was gonna supplement that a little bit by saying that it costs several thousand to bring in the Native American dancers, and so the contributions by NATOW and the St. Croix Band of Chippewa, the ones that have the casinos at Turtle Lake and Danville and so on, those contributions flow back into the Native performers. An anonymous couple supports the donation that pays for the orchestra concert on Thursday night. That's about $1,500 there also. So the total budget's somewhere north of $9,000, isn't it, Jackie?
More than that, yeah.
More than that even.
More than that even. We do a lot of marketing.
That's right. And a lot of our media sponsors or partners don't charge or charge us less than their normal market rates for the newspaper insert and that kind of stuff that you manage.
Definitely thankful for their support. This event wouldn't be possible without them, especially just having a really fun event back again in person. A lot of different activities going on, it seems, and including the mascot, Scrappy. That's unique. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, well, Anastasia Sharton at the Phipps, has been a kind of our artistic arm, and she must have been the one who suggested that we retain Mary Johnson to create this armature in the shape of a splashing bass, as we call it, and mounted on a trailer. And the armature is a basic structure, and it has a kind of a fabric of metal lattice. And to that is attached each year durable trash that's picked up from the riverbanks on Tuesday, the kickoff day for RiverFest. The previous year's trash is removed or recycled and thrown away, depending on what it is. and the new stuff is attached by a class that Liz Melanophy teaches at the Phipps. She has this Just Add Water class that's a multi-week activity for middle school age kids, I guess, and she gathers them together and they punch holes in the trash and use zip ties to attach it to the armature. And then Scrappy is exhibited, well, throughout the year, I guess. Sometimes we even take it to the Hot Air Affair in the middle of, or at the beginning of February, and then to local parades, or we'll take it out in July and have Scrappy in front of the Nor Lake factory, and the employees of the factory can do selfies of themselves with Scrappy. People sometimes ask why the name Scrappy. It was chosen by children in a contest that we had to name the then unnamed sculpture.
Wow, and it's with a lot of different materials. Now, if our listeners want to watch it being decorated, is that a possibility?
Sure it is. The very beginning will be Tuesday afternoon. At that point, Scrappy will be down at Picnic Point, which is next to the boat launch on the south end of Lakefront Park in Hudson. And immediately after, I'll move it up to the north side of the Phipps building. So it's between the Phipps building and the public library on the Phipps property on the lawn there on the north side. And that's where Liz and her students will continue decorating until they finish it up in time on Thursday for us to move it across the street to the band shell in time for the concert on Thursday night.
Wow, Scrappy just symbolizes it all, using our resources around the area, and just a lot of meaning behind it. Thanks, Buck. Now, we've described a lot of the meanings towards this event at RiverFest. What's the schedule kind of looking like for this event in later part of July?
Well,
Want to handle that, Jackie?
Yeah, I'll chip in here. We've got a lot of events lined up. I'll try and get through some of them here for you. The RiverFest kicks off on Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock. Is our annual river cleanup, and that event is kind of like the purpose behind RiverFest. So get people out there. We meet at the band shell at 10 o'clock on was that July 19th, that is. So
Yep.
Meet there and send out people to pick up trash along the riverbank. Some people can call Buck Malick ahead of time and get pre-assigned locations. I know that there are people that have come back year after year and they get a location specifically designated to clean up. So information about that, more information about that, and a map of the kind of the lakefront areas available on the website if people want to check out and learn more about the cleanup.
You have tips there for how to dress, and although we have plastic gloves, people may want to bring their own gloves. They're picker-upper for questionable items that they may come across that might cut them or whatever. And we have the bags, if I didn't mention that, so people don't have to bring their own.
Yeah, and things like don't pick up really heavy things or ammunition or things that are dangerous. So there's some pretty good tips out there on the website about how to do your cleanup. And there's actually a video that we made a couple of years ago with Buck and the county recyclist about recycling trash and what's recyclable and what's not. So we want people to get out there on the riverfront and collect that trash and find some really fun stuff to put on Scrappy. There's always an interesting arrangement of a variety of things that go on Scrappy every year.
I bet. I can only imagine.
Yeah. So
if we have time at the end, I'll tell you about a couple of really weird things that were found. But go ahead, Jackie. People then bring their trash to Picnic Point, right?
Correct.
In time for a lunch that we have and a wonderful demonstration by Carpenter Nature Center by Jesse Eckroad there.
Yep. This year, we're going to end up actually having two different opportunities to see the Copper Nature Center animals. The library is having a presentation at 10:30 up at White Camp Park, and that one is the animals of the St. Croix. And then with the picnic lunch down at Picnic Point after the cleanup, that's Jessie will be down there, and she's going to have reptiles and amphibians. So well, that one starts at 11:30. And so it's kind of a fun morning. You can bring the kids down and pick up some trash, head over to Picnic Point, have some lunch, and get to see all those snakes and lizards and turtles. I don't know if there's any lizards in there. Maybe newts. Not sure.
It's up to Jessie what she brings this year. Yeah. Sometimes she brings a bird, but I guess that's not on.
I think they're going to be up at the. Yeah, I think the birds will be up at White Camp Park. Oh. Not sure. And then that evening we have a foraging walk at Bluebird Hills Homestead. That's kind of an interesting one. The Hudson Grocery Co-op is presenting that with local forager Russ Lake. He will kind of take you on a walk along the beautiful properties at Bluebird Hill and look for edible plants. It's amazing how many edible plants are out there for people to eat, and they grow right in your backyard. I mean, everything from nettles to plantain to, I don't know, all kinds of things, weeds that you can eat. And they're more nutritious than the food you're trying to grow in the garden. I can't get my carrots to grow this year, but I got lots of nettles. So yeah, the foraging walk is fun for people that are just interested in learning about it. And then another activity we have coming up is the Toonies Environmental Fun Puppet Show. That's a great evening for the kids. That's going to be on Wednesday this year in the evening at 6:30 down at the Lakefront Park Bandshell. And it is a favorite for families with young children. Trisha Hayes usually is Trisha from the Toonies, and she usually gets those kids up and dancing and involved in the activities. It's lots of fun, and they get to learn at a very young age about rethinking and reusing and recycling and reducing the waste that they have. So it's a great program for young kids. And then let me see what next we have is the next day is Thursday, and that's when we have the concert. Judy, could you share a little bit about the concert?
Sure, I would be delighted to. And actually, there's a nice segue from the Toonies and their wonderful interactive performance that'll be Wednesday evening. We were presented a couple years ago by Tricia Haynes with a poem, called RiverFest, It's the Best. And it's about 4 stanzas, and it's really lovely, and it obviously sings the praises of not only the celebration, but of course the beauty of the St. Croix River. So maybe a year or two ago, Chris Chernahoy, who is the director of the St. Croix Valley Community Band, which performs on Thursday evening, put that to music. And so last year we handed out the lyrics. The audience is invited to sing RiverFest, It's the Best, and that will be in the repertoire again this year. So that's always something very fun to look forward to. The concert starts at 7:00, but it's preceded at 6 by what we call a sort of a partner display fair. So organizations that are our partners, as well as those that may not be sure what their active role is, but they support and lift up awareness and education about the river, are invited to come and set up some displays that sort of surround Lakefront Park. As individuals come, they can then visit all of the displays that are there. Typically, there's something that will be something children can create. This year, Tropical Wings will be inviting children to make little cardboard birds. Similar, much smaller than the birds you'll see if you go to the rainforest exhibit at the Phipps Center for the Arts. It'll be open. There'll be an opportunity for people to maybe make their bird and then take a short walk across the street and see what they look like in a rainforest, or visit other displays that are there. 7:00, then it is the St. Croix Valley Community Band Concert. We started inviting that group to perform, I believe it was the second year, when we really thought about how do you make this truly a community event? Everything from engaging businesses and organizations to the cleanup at the front end, to inviting someone to perform that really represents the community along with all the other events. And that's how we landed on Dr. Chris Chernahoy and that group. They vary the program every year. It's always interactive. Very often they get the kids up and marching. It'll be really interesting this year because Chris is going to be handing the baton to 2 or 3 other maestros, and she's going to be traveling in Europe. So it's going to be really fun to see how that's going to unfold. And in my opinion, it absolutely reinforces the notion of this is community. This is the people that are up and down the St. Croix River that are stepping in to celebrate and to have fun. So starts at 6:00 with a nonprofit display, and probably it'll end about 8:15, 8:30 at the end of the concert. It's a fun event. We typically get lots of people coming, family friendly. So we're hoping that we'll see lots of folks there.
You have a lot of activities, to say the least. Now you even have an evening prairie hike. You can explore the Willow Nature Walk. A lot of fun other activities. Do you want to share any more that are specific to family friendly?
The evening prairie hike at Carpenter Nature Center is definitely worth highlighting. That is going to be on the Wisconsin campus. And I believe you'll meet at the brand new visitor center, which is going to be, they have the ribbon cutting next week. So about a week later than that, or 2 weeks later, is when folks who participate in that event will have an opportunity to see that beautiful facility. And it's an absolutely beautiful space that Carpenter occupies just a couple miles south of Hudson.
Mm-hmm. And you'll be able to see it all. For more information on stcroixriverfest.org, again, happening July 19th through the 23rd. Jackie, did you want to add more in regards to what's happening?
Our final day is Saturday, and we've got a day long full of events happening that day. We have the Native American celebration, which runs from 1 to 4 at the Hudson Band Shell, and we'll have Native American performances from the Chippewa, St. Croix Chippewa Indian of the Wisconsins. They have a trails dance troupe that has come from, I think almost every year to RiverFest that we've had the Native American show, and they do a great job of sharing what the dances are and the meanings behind the dances and the drumming and singing. And then joining them, we will have the Native Pride dancers. They have been, I think about 2 years ago, they were at, 2 or 3 years ago, they were at the event for RiverFest. And that's from 1 to 4 on Saturday, July 23rd. And it would be, in addition to the dancing and singing, there'll be Native American crafts available for sale. And then we have Lisa Mose coming back with her food. So if you have a chance to purchase some Native American food, they do a great job. And mentioning food, the next thing up on the schedule at 5:00 is the longer table picnic. We're partnering with the Hudson Inclusion Alliance to have a longer table event. We're still a little concerned about COVID, so instead of having a potluck like they have in the past, we're going to ask people to bring their own picnic blankets and picnic basket and have a picnic at a longer table. And the purpose behind the longer table is basically to get to know your neighbors, it's an inclusion event. It's about diversity. It's about learning who your neighbors are. And so that should be a great event. I think when it was held in the past, pre-COVID, it was a pretty large event, pretty big attendance. So that'll be down Lakefront Park. Hopefully we can find some shaded area back behind the band shell for that area. And we will have a symbolic longer table, if not technically a longer table. And then the evening, we were going to conclude RiverFest with the Honor the River program. This is a new program we're putting together this year. We will have the Native Pride dancers coming back for an evening performance, and we have a Hmong singer. I'm trying to find her name here.
I got it in front of me. Pang Her Vang.
Yeah.
Pang Her Vang.
And Evie Nirvan, who works on the committee, has attended, I think, an event down at Prescott, and she was really struck by the similarities between the Native American culture and the Hmong culture, their reverence for the water, and celebrating the river, celebrating the water, celebrating the confluence of different rivers. Down in Prescott, you've got the Mississippi and St. Croix coming together, and here we have the Willow and the St. Croix coming together. And these are special places, and even in modern times, we recognize that they're special places. So that should be an interesting program. We're still trying to iron out all the details for that one, but I'm kind of looking forward to it. Like I said, that's the conclusion to the RiverFest events then.
Yeah, it seems like a jammed-packed kind of few days you have happening July 19th through the 23rd, celebrating right here in Hudson, which is really cool and exciting. Now, I guess going forward, sorry.
I wanted to supplement some of the things that Jackie summarized so wonderfully and quickly regarding Saturday, the 23rd. There are basically 3 options for food. Bring your own. Go to one of the restaurants. Lakefront Park is so very close, and we have a great selection of restaurants that one could do a takeout from and bring it over there. Or buy the food from Lisa Mose. She'll have wild rice soup, I'm sure, and fry bread as long as it lasts. And so there are those 3 easy options for food with make your own or buy it.
Now, going alongside food, are there other options throughout the event, the other days, where they can buy directly at the event, or is that just buying local as well?
So I think that it's only the Saturday where people are going to be asked to either, as Buck said, bring food, or if you go out to restaurants or to purchase from the native provider. In the other events, the food is provided on Tuesday, but the other events, it's bring your lunch sack or your picnic. I would like, if it's okay, Michelle, I would kind of like to weave together the longer table, the Native American events on Saturday, and RiverFest, because I hope that your viewers are going to be able to see the connection. But it's inviting people to listen to heartfelt presentations from Indigenous people about how they look and think about the river. Doing that, we hope and believe it'll help inform our attitudes as residents of Hudson, our attitudes about the river, the importance, how it functions as an amazing resource in our community. And thinking about these 2 different perspectives on viewing this beautiful river, perhaps it'll help us to open up a little bit on different perspectives on a whole variety of other topics. So that's the way that in a way, it all flows together to sort of build on the metaphor of the river and how these three events, this amazing Native American sharing of their culture and traditions, the party with a purpose, and the mission of the Longer Table and the Inclusions Alliance. They just all sort of flow together.
Mm-hmm. There is a lot to it, and there can be more information, like we've mentioned before, just on the website, stcroixriverfest.org. A lot of great information here, but maybe some of our viewers are wondering, so they know like to bring food, but are there any costs to attend any of these events?
Most of the events are free, free and open to the public. Like I said, with the exception of the food at on the Saturday event,
There are no costs
I don't think there are any costs.
Participants, no.
Nope.
Nope, it's all free.
Just a good way to learn about what's here in the Hudson community. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Now, we mentioned to maybe bring a lunch sack or maybe a chair as well. What other things should community participants should bring with them?
Well, they should always dress for whatever the weather may be.
Sure.
If, heaven forbid, we're rained out or something like that, Jackie will try to get that up on the website and the Facebook page, just as quickly as we make a decision. If we have to go somewhere else for the concert, we'll make that announcement as soon as as we can, if it should be necessary.
Cool.
And one thing this year, we are planning to have some tents down there. If you've been to the Lakefront Park band shell, it can get hot in the middle of the day. So we're hoping to get to make our own shade with bringing in some tents this year, and that should help a little bit and allow people to get up close instead of have to sit in the back underneath all the shade trees. But you never know what the weather's going to be here in Hudson, so. I think the other thing too is I just remind people to look for us on Facebook. All the major events are listed there. And new this year, we've put things on Eventbrite. So that should help spread the word a little bit more. With the Eventbrite events, if people want to register to let us know they're coming, that's always helpful. Not necessary, but very helpful. So we can plan how many people are going to be there.
If you have time, Michelle, two little anecdotes related to Scrappy and the kinds of stuff you can find on the riverbanks. One year, there was a wedding dress. It was on a hanger and with a plastic sleeve on it, just as the way it would have come from the place where it was purchased or come from a dry cleaning shop, perhaps, but it was found tangled in the brush alongside a river. There's undoubtedly a story behind that, but we don't know what it is. The same year, a brand new tennis shoe was found along the bank. And that year, we were displaying Scrappy at the River Falls Public Library, and the shoe was there. And lo and behold, a boy and his mother came to the library, and the boy spotted the shoe and said, "Mom, there's my missing shoe." And of course, we were delighted to give him back his shoe. And when Liz and her crew had decorated Scrappy, they had been careful not to damage the shoe. They used an existing eyelet, and so he got his shoe back. Those are the weirdest, I think, of the stories about the stuff.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I might say, people often ask, can you detect a trend? Is the river getting junkier? Is it getting better? Can you detect a trend? We chose this time of the summer. We used to have it a week earlier because that was kind of the high point. Around the 4th of July weekend was usually the time when the most trash would be found on the riverbanks. We moved it back 1 week so that we weren't in conflict with one of the Native American powwow celebrations, the Honor the Earth celebration. So that's why we are where we are, and we are at roughly the trashiest time of year for our area rivers. I think we have to work a little bit harder to get things suitable to decorate Scrappy. It is definitely not becoming substantially worse. It may be that it's becoming slightly better in terms of public awareness and people policing their own trash at the source, as it were. I'd like to think that. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's really good to hear, and a good note to really think of why you should come to this event, RiverFest, happening right here in Hudson. A good time to celebrate everything, the community coming together and just learning more about it. So I guess any final comments of why our viewers should come to this event? Just maybe summarize it in a sentence or two.
Judy's the eloquent one.
It's what I would actually quote from is the little poem that Trisha Haynes did. And she said, it closes by saying, RiverFest, it is the best. Cool, clean waters, our mission quest. RiverFest, it's the best. It's a place to learn. It's a place to play. A fun celebration on a given beautiful day. RiverFest, it's the best. Come to the river and be our guest, because RiverFest, it's the best.
Wow, what a good note to end on. Thank you so much, Judy, Jackie, and Buck, for joining me today. If you want to check out more information about RiverFest happening on July 19th to the 23rd, like them on Facebook. Check out the website at stcroixriverfest.org. And come celebrate the community and learn more. Thanks for tuning in to this Western Wisconsin Journal. I'm Michelle Stengler.